Okay, good morning, everybody. Mick McQuillan standing in for our regular host, Heather King. Privilege, thank you. Obviously, I'm excited to kind of share some thoughts with you that I had. And let me just, I don't have any, like Passmore and like Terence and like Peter especially, I don't have any slides for you, right? So I'm just going to conjure up some magic, right? Hopefully, with some thoughts that you might be able to put into some kind of context. So I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, and I didn't really have um, anything to that was really jumping out at me, and then I was listening to a book. I can't remember. It was was it Justice O. Malcolm? Um, and the book was, what was the book? It was You Become What You Think. And I'd listened to a couple of hours of this book, and it was very interesting. But one of the things that he talked about was intention. And I started thinking, I was trying to ask myself about intention. And of course, a definition of intention is the purpose or goal behind an action, thought, or decision. And it reflects what someone aims to achieve, even if the outcome doesn't align perfectly with the plan. Having an intention gives direction and motivation, guiding actions and thoughts towards a desired outcome. And in everyday life, intention ranges from small goals like intending to exercise or intending to be kinder to large, more complex objectives like career aspirations and personal growth. And intention can be taken in a lot of different concepts and nuances. So intention is a mental state that represents a commitment to carrying out an action in the future, which I think is really interesting. An action in the future, you know, are we talking about visualization there? Combined with intention? That's really interesting. When I think about certainly combining visualization and intention, it makes me think of that book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And he in that book, he actually talked about something which was really interesting, which was a journal about journaling, your future, being grateful, having a gratitude journal for your gratitude towards the things that you were getting in the future, the things that were coming to you in the future, which I thought was really interesting, which is an intended action, right? And of course, intention deeply explored in terms of, free will. Um, you think about values and ethics and what's the other one? Um, Integrity, you know? So, I think when just thinking about intention, you can spiritually link that too, to have focus on that inner power, where you have clear and positive intentions and believe, you know, in something other than just your own power. So, to be honest, intention is like I'm doing this intentionally, right? Maybe not as well prepared as Peter and Passmore and others, but I'm doing it intentionally. It's not by accident or chance. Heather came to me, and said, Mike, could you do this? So, I knew about it. It wasn't an accident. She didn't ring me this morning and say, oh my God, something's happened. Can you do it? And it wasn't just a chance that came up where I did it. So lots of things that I leave things sometimes to chance. Certainly when we're talking about other people, I sometimes try and influence them, but lots of things happen, in my day-to-day life where, I don't pay any attention to them. And then they don't really happen. Nothing really happens. But if I pay attention to it, I can actually make that problem bigger than what it really is. So I think with intention, when you're thinking with intention, you do actually get what you think about. If you're thinking about this problem is is going to increase, or there's more likelihood that it might come true. But anyway, listen, getting back to it. So I was thinking about intention, accident, chance. So when actions occur without any planning or purpose, they're often described as happening by accident, or it just happened by chance, which is completely the opposite of deliberate intention. Because, when I think about those problems that maybe happen, if I do actually focus my attention on them and think about them with some kind of intent, they do tend to develop. So I tend not to focus on those types of problems. Do you know what I mean? And most of the time, they don't even happen. They don't even, come to life. Um, and is that because I'm focusing on avoiding that situation? Maybe it could be. So if someone has no specific purpose or goal, their actions may stem from a lack of concern or motivation, which is a contrast with an intentional goal or purpose, right? So what does it all mean? I don't really know, but acting spontaneously or impulsively without a set plan or purpose, again, could be seen as the opposite of acting with intent or with intention. So, I would, ask you guys to think about, what your intentions are. And our intentions, can they be aligned with your values, and your beliefs? They probably can be, right? Absolutely, they probably should be. I think, when I think about my beliefs and I think about what I value and, morally and ethically, does that have a bearing on my intentions? I think it does. I think it could do. I suppose there's a lot to unpick there, right? But, you know, with an absence of focused, purposeful direction, um, you're just, you're like that ship sailing in the sea, that captainless or rudderless ship. You don't really know where you're going. You have to have an intention. Yeah, I suppose you have to have a plan. You have to act on that plan. You have to take, you know, I don't know. I've got no idea. Someone's going to have to help me out here. You guys can probably help me out with this stuff. I'm interested to know what you guys think when it comes to intention and how to apply intention. If you think about it, I'm sure that you're going to talk about journaling, daily goal setting and things like this. And these are important things for sure. There's no doubt about it. I think one of the things that I kind of learned that I was really interested in was that because we talk about gratitude here a lot, and how that creates feelings and different things like this inside, makes you feel better, which is great. But journaling and intentionally thinking about the things that you're grateful for in the future, in the understanding that all timelines are in existence all at the same time, and that your actions today, your intentional actions today are going to move you, should you want to, in that direction of that thing that you're grateful for in the future, that you can experience now, thinking about it and feeling about it, because as we all know, it's not just about positive thinking, it's about positive feeling and aligning those two things together to have total congruency. That can be an intentional thing to do, to actually think and feel that way. Like my wife, and I love my wife dearly. I do. And in fact, she was away for a week, and it's really quite strange because I had this kind of this thought came to my mind. I was having a conversation with somebody, and they were saying, "Oh, how are you getting on?" I said, "Yeah, I'm getting on great. Like I'm fine. Kate's away; she's on a cruise." And this person said, "Oh, I much prefer it when I'm by myself." And I said, "Look, I don't mind it." I said, "I can look after myself. There's only one cup, one plate, one knife and fork. It's easy to tidy up." And this person was like, "Oh yeah, like when my husband's away, it's like, oh, it's so much easier." And I was thinking about this, you know, and I came to realize, and this might not necessarily be on topic, but I came to realize that even though I was looking forward to my wife coming home, I did find it easy to look after myself. And then I realized that I was taking my wife for granted, right? Because what happens was, like when my wife's at home, I would leave my cup on the side, right? I would drink my coffee and I'd leave my cup on the side. But when I was there by myself, I wouldn't leave it on the side. I'd just wash it and set it on the side. It was done. Do you know what I mean? Didn't have to do it later when I got back in. But what I was doing previously is I'd leave my cup on the side. I'd go off to wherever I'm going. I'd come back and my cup would be on the side, and I'd be like, "What's my cup doing on the side? Why is it not in the dishwasher? Oh my God!" Do you know? And I would have these emotions and feelings, and my expectation was that Kate should pick that up and put it in the dishwasher, or she should wash it. And I'm thinking that's crazy, you know. So I know that's got nothing to do with it, but that was something that was an intentional thing that happened that I had to think about. There was a new thing that I had to think about, which has changed the direction, of my relationship with my wife, only for the better, and it's me that's changed, not her that's changed. It's me that's changed. And it's funny because I'd be out where, I like driving. I enjoy driving. I think I'm good at driving. I've been doing it for a long time. I don't really crash into anything, right? I'm pretty aware when I drive. And, my wife, she's such a bad passenger. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is such a bad passenger. And it's only with me. I think she could be with anybody else, but with me, she's a really bad passenger. She'd be holding onto the grab rail, like a white knuckle ride, like a roller coaster ride. Do you know what I mean? And we live out in the country. We've got these really narrow lanes, and cars would be coming, and you can hear us breathing in, like trying to suck the car in. Do you know what I mean? As cars fling by, and I'm thinking, like there's nothing I can do, you know, even by driving, 20 kilometers under the speed limit, I can slow down. There's all kinds of things that I can do, but those feelings, that she experiences are inside her. I can't change them. Only she can change them. And that comes from having some kind of, in order for her to change them, there needs to be some intent. There needs to be some kind of, like, obviously something happened, a trigger event happened, to give her those feelings. And those feelings are so repetitive now that they're so strong. So the only way a person can change is with intentional thinking, having a purpose, having a new future, having a new desire, you know, because if that anxiety is every time she gets in the car as a passenger, that she's going to feel that she's already preempting that thought, that feeling, that she's scared, of being hit by a car. So intentional thinking, which I didn't think I could talk about for 10 minutes, we shall see, you know, I think it's really, and the problem is that most of the time we don't really think, we're just kind of cruising along. I think if we actually applied ourselves and did actually think about things intentionally and visualize, and wrap that in emotion, I think you can get what Kate has, where you get anxiety, worry, and fear about the journey. Or, you could wrap it in positivity, and good emotions, and maybe, just maybe, you're gonna get the dream. You're gonna drive the dream car, on the dream road. I'm gonna talk about. There's a video that Bob has, and I would play it. It's about 3 minutes long, and he talks about at the end of that video. He talks about the winners of the day are the daydreamers, who live their dream. And I was listening to that and I was thinking he's not talking about daydreamers, because when we think about daydreaming, we think about just our minds just drifting off and daydreaming. What he's talking about are the people who succeed, are the people who are living their visualization, intentionally living their visualization, and that's a different thing, so go out and be a daydreamer, and visualize, wrap it in emotion, do it intentionally, keep that journal for that gratitude journal, not for the things that you're grateful for now. Yes, keep that one too, but the one that you're grateful for in the future. Because every time you think about that and you wrap that in emotion, you're bringing it to you. It's taking a step closer to you. And your actions can then be intentionally guided, towards that target. Listen, I'm gonna wind that up. I'm gonna let you guys talk about, and I want to know what you guys think. That's what I'm more interested in, even though I do love talking, you know, and quite happy to listen to myself all day, which I do in my own head. Do you know what I mean? We all do it, you know? And I suppose we've got to be intentional about that too. You know, who's the checker on the checker, right? So anyway, listen, with that, I'm going to hand it over to you guys and see what you've got to say. Radka, you go first.
Morning all, thank you, Meg. I'm still thinking, it's really interesting. Intention for me, it's really a goal with the purpose. And exactly, I love cars, and I love you said about the journey. You have a positive feelings about that journey and visualize the journey in best possible ways. And it's about your feelings. Did you notice when there's some situation occurs and suddenly your body, your guts are smarter than your brain, start feelings in your guts, and it's either a good one or the bad one, and you just have to persuade your thinking mind that it's okay. It's gonna be okay. Your thinking mind. It's that irrational animal when we react instead of respond to the situation, and it's down to our not just feelings but the inner meeting oh my god, it's gonna be bad, no, I'm gonna fail. And you know, when we start having this inner negative meeting, that's what's going to happen. That's where we put our intention.
That,
So
you know, Radka, that's really interesting, you know, and I do find that interesting because I think what you're talking about there is like pre-programming, you know, like when you have that feeling, usually it's rare to have a new feeling, right? Normally the feelings that we have are, you know, are recollected feelings, repeated over again, right? So you have an experience. So obviously Kate had this experience, right? And that experience was so strong that it gave her that feeling in the pit of her stomach, right? So that every time that she anticipates that that thing is going to happen again, that feeling rises to the top. That's programming, absolute programming, you know? And that is exactly what you describe. It's when your emotions take over
yeah,
your neurons, right? Send that feeling to your brain and you start thinking and feeling that way. And your expectation is that you're going to have this. You know, what I'm talking about is trying to get ahead of that, intentionally get ahead of that, you know, and when you have those feelings, you know, so you have those feelings and maybe you write down, I'm feeling anxious about this car journey. We're just using this as an example, you know, and then to challenge that emotion, challenge it, challenge that emotion and say, like I take a car journey at least 3 or 4 times a day. Nothing ever happens. Why would I feel like this? Do you know what I mean? What's the reality of it? You know? So I do understand what you're saying, but what I'm talking about is trying to get ahead of that, intentionally get out ahead of those emotions. Do you know? That pre-programming, because we've all been programmed from a little baby. Everything that, you know, everything is already programmed into us. And the challenge is to create new, original, you know, pathways, new neurological pathways to change that programming. And you know, look, I'm talking about how do you do that intentionally? You have to stop, think, and act in a different way.
but it's good to recognize that it's good. Oh, okay, I have this kind of feeling. Like my husband and I went to Turkey, and he was kidnapped, and since then, when someone, like you took a Mickey last time, but if someone won't reply within, I don't know, 10 minutes, I start panicking. I still got that experience embodied in me, imprinted, as something really bad happened to that person because of one holiday, one horrible holiday in Turkey when my husband was kidnapped. We were walking together, talking. I turned, he was nowhere. He was just kidnapped. Um, Luckily, they returned him without £2,000, but alive, thank God. But since then, I have that panic attack. Soon you won't reply. I start, oh my God, and I start creating those dramas in my head.
Mm.
I'm working on it. Yes, nothing happened. It's only he's busy, but it used to be bad. Now I recognize that. And I think that's the important thing, to recognize the issue and talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, you got to challenge it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Passmore, what are your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Mick, for the thought-provoking talk. I hope you can get me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Thank you. I have gotten from what you have said, intention, goals, aim, free will, direction, purpose, visualization. There's also alignment. What I've gotten from the talk is that, or what I can make out of the talk is that success in life actually should be intentional. Success in life should be intentional. In other words, like you have said, it should not be an accident that all of a sudden you have just found you have achieved all your goals, but it should be something that is intentional. And if it is something that is intentional, that means it should do this intention once it's put in place. This is what I want to do. This is what I intend to do. It should be followed now by action. It drives someone into action. And that means it also requires a design. If this is what I want to do, how can I do this? So, meaning it also involves direction. That at the end of the day, you can see, even as you are moving, as you are doing something, is this within my intention? Is this what I intended to do? Or I intended to go to point A, but now I found myself in point B. But an intention will clear out things. This is what I want to go to point A to point B. There are a lot of places that you want to go, but your intention is that I'm choosing to go to this place and not another place. So even when you have not found yourself somewhere else, it was by intention. So what you have achieved at the end of the day is what you intended to achieve. If something has not been achieved, that means we go back again to the drawing board. What happened? I intended to do this, but I did not foresee this, and therefore I ended in this place. That's what I take out of it.
Yeah. That is, there's no doubt that what you're saying there, Passmore, does make a lot of sense. But I wonder that if you're doing things unintentionally, by doing something unintentionally, is that intentional? By not doing something, can you intentionally get to where you want to go? Yes, of course you can. But what are we talking about when you're doing things unintentionally? Are we talking about self-sabotage? Are we talking about getting in our own way? What is it that we're talking about? And, I see people doing that. I see people, there's a guy that I'm currently working with who's just bought a house, and he's spending a lot of money on this house. And then he rings me yesterday and said, "Oh, another house has come on the market. It's cheaper. Should I buy that house?" And I'm like, "Why are you sabotaging yourself? You've already bought a house. You just literally you just sale agreed on a house last week. Why would you want to go and have a look at this house? Like, is the grass greener on the other side? Like, what is going on for that person where he's intentionally trying to, and he literally is trying to sabotage himself. He taught, he's got all kinds of things wrong with him, from acid reflux to anxiety and everything else like this. I'm thinking, geez, this guy's going to bring me down with him. Do you know? Like, I don't want to be there, and you have to try and intentionally guide the conversation into positivity and everything else like this, which brings us on to environment, right? And the people that you hang around with, and the people who are in your close circle, and stuff like that. And that's an intentional thing to do. And that can absolutely help. But there's no doubt when success, I think, is an intentional thing. You hear a lot of times when people have overnight success, you know, but they've probably been doing that thing for 10 or 15 years, and then all of a sudden they have this fame and fortune. Maybe they already had the fortune, but now they've got the fame and the recognition that goes with it. But it is an intentional thing. No, I agree, Passmore. Peter, what are your thoughts?
I could talk on this for a long time.
I should have went to you first then.
Fascinating. You know, I started off with intention, and I thought of St. Paul, where St. Paul writes, and I wish I had the verse right in front of me, where he talks about the good that I intend to do, I don't do. And I think we have that problem, that there are things that do play a role and that we actually don't do what we intend to do. And it's something we should be looking at and dealing with it.
Give me an example, Peter. Give me an example of something that we intend to do but don't do, or anybody if you've got one.
Well, I'm just going to give one example of, and as you were talking, that I was thinking about it. Was it last night? I sat down with my wife for dinner last night, and it's a case of, she said, "What would you like to drink?" And my intention was not to have a beer, but I just looked and I thought a beer is going to taste so nice, and I didn't follow through on my intention, and I just used that as an example.
That's a great example, Peter. That is a great example.
And that's a bit of St. Paul. The other thing that I jotted down, I jotted down was, when you're talking about intentional, and I thought, well, what is the opposite? And I wrote down that the opposite was drifting, or a drifter. You know, and I look at stuff for drifters, and I certainly don't want to be a drifter. So I throw that up, and I think when one thinks about intention, just stop and think about the opposite and say, well, I don't want to be a drifter. But I take it, you know, I got involved with MAP4Life and followed the program for probably close to 25 years now. And I used to say at the start, you know, it was very good to start at the beginning of the year, and you set down your intentions for the year, and I think that's wonderful. And I then say, well, okay. And folk would say, well, how often should you use your MAP4Life? And I'd say, well, there you go, once a year. And then I got down to saying, well, you know, really, maybe you should be looking at it once a quarter. And then it was a case of once a month as you set your goals for the month. And then it's a case of, well, what about your goals for the week? And then your intentions for the day. And I say, I think it goes even further than that. We reach a time, you know, we get interrupted. And there we are. We've got all our intentions in line, and we charging forth, and suddenly the phone goes, and somebody interrupts us. How do we deal with that interruption? And I'm saying, well, you know, maybe what we need to do is just to pause and say, hang on a second, what do I want to get out of this phone call? The guy who's phoned me, he's got a reason for phoning me, but and do I want to get something out of this call, and to reset our intention in the moment. And I think we need to take it right down to that sort of thing.
No, I wrote down when you were talking there, Peter, you know, moments, and it is about those moments, right? It's about those moments when you actually stop and think, you know, and you actually literally have to stop and think and have an intentional thought, like that example that you gave about what do you want to drink, and then the thought flashes through your brain, yeah, my intention is I don't want to drink, I'll have a beer, right? Okay, do you know, I love it. And you know, so, and it's those habitual thoughts, you know, and habitual routines, which can actually be the self-sabotaging of that future result. that you want, you know, because if your desire is, you know, not to have a drink or not to drink or not to smoke or whatever it is, not to smoke, not to eat so much, not to eat so many sugary foods,
yeah.
you know, like those, they are self-sabotaging, you know, thoughts, you know, which lead to actions which are veering you, which are drifting you off that path that you want, you know. So it is about those moments. And if you could string a whole bunch of those moments together in just one hour, imagine doing it for a whole hour where you string all of those moments together and actually intentionally deliver on all of those things. Yeah, if you did it for 1 hour and then you did it for 2 hours and then you put 3 hours together or 4 hours together, by the time your day's done, what kind of a day would you have had?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If it was all intentionally laid out, you know. And imagine if you put imagine if you put a few days together like that. You know, how would your life change around? How would it turn around? Like if you wanted it to turn around, you know. So like it is about those moments. And you know, you also mentioned and what I wrote down was, you know, it's important to know what you don't want as well.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that can be important. Like, I'm going to ask Heather to jump in. I know she's lying on her sunbed with her drinking her margarita, but we'll see if she's got anything to say. Heather, you there?
I agreed with quite a few, but I was thinking when you were talking, when you started, have you ever noticed somebody who actually is doing something with intention? Let's just say somebody, if you're in a mall and you see somebody walking, and you know that they're walking with intent because of their body language. They know where they want to go. They're not going to let anybody distract them, and you can see by their body language that they are focused on what they want to do and where they want to go. And then you get somebody else who is indecisive, very indecisive. And what I was thinking, have you ever tried to focus on something? What keeps on happening? You know, you're trying desperately not to change your intention or not to focus on something, but it keeps on coming back into your head, you know, and you got to ask yourself, how can you move your attention so that your intention becomes more aligned? That's something you got to ask yourself. And then, you know, and doing that comes in with what Peter says, you know, ask yourself, what outcome do I want from this situation? What do I want to achieve from this? And then I was thinking, like, in terms of goals, you know, you've always got to just stop what you're doing and then ask yourself, what do I really want out of my life? What do I really want out of this day, this week, this month, whatever? What can I change or do now to get back on track? You know, and then get up and do it.
Yeah.
So it's it's quite interesting when you think about it. And thanks, Mike. This is very thought provoking. I've still got lots of ideas flying through my head.
Thank you, Heather. I was just adding there to my, you know, obviously I had written down for Peter moments, you know, and then straight after that, I think I've got a book title actually, you know, moments and distractions, the next 5 minutes. So like, I think Heather's going to write a book on that and Peter together combined, and we'll get everybody's insights. But listen, look, my intention was just to talk about intention. That was it. But I think that once you lift the veil, you know, off that, it really is a deep subject that you could really kind of get into. And it is about those moments. It is about those distractions. Like last Thursday, you know, I'm driving in my car, warning light comes up on the screen, big amber, you know, triangle, you know, add blue, got to add blue, you know, you've got 750 kilometers, you know, before your car is gonna, you know, stop working. So I add the add blue, the warning light doesn't go off, pardon me, and I'm thinking, right, okay, you know, like I need my car because I drive a lot. Take it into the garage. This is on a Thursday. Take it into the garage. No, it's fine. Everything should be fine. It'll just clear itself. This is over a long weekend, right? A bank holiday weekend on the Monday. So driving around in my car, and as I'm driving around, the warning light does not go off, right? And you know, it says now, oh, you've got 500 kilometers before your car stops working. You've got 250 kilometers before your car starts working. You know, so I get to Tuesday. So I've been driving around. I've got something like 149 kilometers before I'm up in Dublin. I'm like 200 kilometers from home. And I'm thinking, what is, you know, like my intention is that this is going to sort itself out because someone has told me that it's going to sort itself out. So then I'm driving back and I think, right, okay, then it starts beeping at me. So I'm about 100 kilometers away from my home. The car starts beeping at me, flashing on the screen saying, listen, do not turn your car off, because if you turn your car off, it won't turn back on. And I'm thinking, moments, I should have dealt with this last Friday. Do you know what I mean? This is when I needed to deal with this. Not now. Now I'm totally knee deep, you know. In fact, I'm up to my neck in it at the moment, right? Can't turn my car off. So then I drive to the garage, get to the garage. It's after 5 o'clock. No one's there. And I'm sitting there, the engine's running, and I'm thinking, right, do I turn it off? Because if I turn it off, it's not going to start again. That's what the car is telling me. So I turn it off. And then I think, right, I'm going to try to see if it turns back on. And it turns back on, right? And I think, bloody hell, this is amazing. You know, obviously, maybe it's like just a warning. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe it's okay. So I turn it off again. And I'm like, right, okay, let's see if it starts again. So I start it and it starts again. I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm driving home. I'm not leaving it here. I'm going to drive home. Do you know what I mean? And we'll get it sorted out. It must be just a computer thing, needs a reboot. This is my, you know, obviously my total ignorance kicking in here now, thinking that I know best when I've got no idea what I'm doing or thinking. And so I drive to the shop, get out, go to the shop, come back, and then it won't start. Bloody hell. Right? So that light coming on was a distraction, right? I'm trying to get on with my day, but this light is trying to distract me, and it should have distracted me, but it didn't. And what it meant was that by ignoring that warning, that distraction, by intentionally ignoring it and thinking I knew best, that as a result, this has cost me about $2,000, right? Because I didn't listen to the distraction. In the moment, my intention was I've got to be doing these things, when I was being warned that I needed to deal with something over here, which was a distraction. But that distraction didn't have to be a distraction. I could have just left my car in the garage, said, sort that out and get on my way. But I didn't. I chose to jump in headfirst into the distraction and ignorantly toy with it, thinking that I knew what I was doing, and I didn't. And it was just an expensive mistake. That's on me.
I bet you won't do that again, would you?
Absolutely. Of course I will. Because I'm ignorant. And I think I know best. Anyway, look, I think, you know, a better topic, you know, we can certainly talk about intention, but it is about moments and distractions. And it's about what happens in the next 5 minutes. That's what it's about. It's about how you intentionally deal with that. I should have dealt with that when it happened. I should have intentionally dealt with it. Would it have saved me so much more money? Don't know. Would it have saved me a lot of hassle and stress? Absolutely, it would have done. Do you know what I mean? Because it meant that I wouldn't have had to pay for a recovery truck to come and pick me up and drop me at the garage, and then to pay for another recovery truck to take it from the garage to the actual, you know, dealership garage. You know, these are expensive mistakes which I could have dealt with, you know, if I would have, in the moment, dealt with the distraction, used intention, and in the next 5 minutes just made some different decisions. You know, so I think, you know, whatever you take away from today, you know, I'm going to take away, you know, moments, distractions in the next 5 minutes. You know.
Well,
Mike.
Yep.
I was
on,
just going to
Heather.
ask, sometimes do we not have these major distractions in our life telling us that we are not following the right goal, path, and we just ignore them and stay where we are because of comfort?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm certain of it. I'm certain of it. But then, I suppose, Heather, who knows? Who knows? When you think about, if every timeline is available to you, right? If everything is, or so everything that you want, you already have, you just don't have it yet. Like the choice that you make now is either going to move you closer or further from that objective if you really want it.
True.
And look, that was a real, distraction that was going on for me, which I chose to ignore at my own peril. And is it really that important in the whole scheme of things? Not really. I can always make more money, so I'm not bothered about that. But other distractions, there are other things that you may regret if you don't do them. Maybe, but then you're never going to know unless you do it, are you? So I don't know. And look, the only thing I know is that you can't live somebody else's life. You can only live yours, right? And that's all you can do. And all you can do is, like Passmore says, is try and be the best version of you, and do it with intentional and be intentional, about that whole day and about succeeding in that day. And again, those success can be broken down into moments and distractions and the next 5 minutes. Like if you're anything like me, when you get off this call, what are you going to do in those next 5 minutes? Like those next 5 minutes could dictate whether your day was going to be a success or whether your day is just going to be another one of those days that just drift off, into history. Like, I don't know. I sound like, the preacher today. It should be Passmore. Get up on my pulpit. Right. Any last comments or final thoughts?
It was definitely interesting and lots of to think about. But just, are we aware? Are we really at the present moment? Awareness versus our thoughts wandering, or the right knowledge, like you thought it's gonna be, your car gonna be okay, and it wasn't. Yeah, are you aware? And yes, Heather, I think when something inconvenient, we tend to reason with ourselves. Oh, it's not that important. Oh, I'll do it later. And we create all those excuses why not to do it, because it's inconvenient at the moment. So yeah, that's, and
Peter?
laziness.
Peter, I'll get your final thoughts.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed today. I'd already prepared for next week, so that was intention. but suddenly, because of what we've spoken about, I'm now looking at what I prepared, and I'm contemplating going down at another avenue, which really is taking this question of intention and how to deal with it. And I think that's where I'm going next week. That's gardening your mind, and things we need to be aware of.
Interesting. Passmore, are you able to give us your final thoughts?
Thank you very much, Mick. And that's what I can get from the talk, is that I need to be purposeful in life, and my life must have direction. And at the end of the day, my success should be defined by my intentions. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Right, listen, with that, I'm going to wind it up. And I'm, like I say, for me, intention really is about the moments, the distractions, and the next 5 minutes. I'm telling you, there's a book in that. right? I'm expecting Peter and Heather to combine on that and get that book together. Right, with that, I'm going to love you and leave you, and see you on the other side.
Thank
Thanks, Rick.
you. Thank you
Thank
so
you all.
much.
Wonderful.
Have a great day. Bye.